This person thinks about you every day, but they don't say anything, they pretend to have moved on. But the name that echoes inside is still yours. It's not a light nostalgia, it's a nostalgia that weighs heavy, that suffocates, that embarrasses their pride. This person knows what they lost, but they also know who you've become, and that's where the fear lies. Because now you no longer depend on them. You've changed. You're not that version who accepted so little anymore, who waited for scraps, who insisted on staying where they weren't seen. Today, you are presence. You are strength. You are silence, filled with dignity. And that's frightening. It's frightening because this person wants to come back, but fears they won't measure up. They fear the confrontation. They fear looking into your eyes and realizing there's no longer any room. This person feels small because you grew where they gave up. You rebuilt yourself where they left. You stayed, even when everything hurt. And now, even if there is a desire, fear wins. Fear of being ignored. Fear of not causing anything anymore. Fear of trying and confirming that they lost you for good. This person carries shame for what they did, for what they said, for what they ignored, because they had the chance, but didn't realize it. You were there, with dedication, with a hunger for connection, with a love that today turned into respectful absence, and now this person doesn't know if they can still, if they still fit, if they still touch, if they still belong. Have you ever wanted to go back, but felt you wouldn't be enough anymore? This person thinks about you, not just occasionally, not out of any nostalgia, not from a wounded ego. They think of you with intensity, with that kind of memory that doesn't ask for permission, that cuts through, that discomforts. They think of you like someone who lost something that won't repeat itself, and they know it, but they swallow it down, because the desire to return exists, but the fear of being rejected by you exists even more. It's not simple. It's not just regret. It's a bitter mix of desire, shame, and late awareness. This person has seen your transformation, and they realize it. You realize that you are no longer the same. You are no longer someone who accepted little, who tolerated absences, who stayed even when ignored. You have presence now. You have a stance. You possess a subtle strength that doesn't shout. It asserts itself. And this strength doesn't just intimidate by existing. It terrifies because it lays bare everything this person failed to appreciate while they still had the chance. You have become someone who knows where they stand, who doesn't confuse love with persistence, who no longer chases after those who don't know how to stay. And what about this person? They watch this unfold from afar with a type of fear that paralyzes, with a type of guilt that doesn't ease, with a type of longing that sabotages itself, because it's not just a desire to return, it's doubt. Would you still let them get close? Would there still be space for a message? Would your heart still have any unoccupied space? This person imagines you laughing, with someone new, with a new outlook, with a new way of being, and it hurts. It hurts because deep down this person knows no one will see you the way you deserve to be seen. And it's not that they didn't see you before, it's that they didn't have the maturity to hold the version of you that you were, let alone to keep up with the person you've become. This person watched your absence turn into presence somewhere else, and that destroys them. Because what was once certain has now become distant. What used to be routine has turned into absence, and what was once guaranteed has become doubt. This person wants you, but they no longer know how to reach out. They fear the silence. They fear your reaction. They fear that you may have already moved on. Fear of looking at you and realizing that the feelings are now only with them. And so they don't try, they pretend, fill their time with distractions, create internal excuses, blame time, life, fate. But deep down they know it was a choice. It was inattentiveness. It was a lack of courage when you needed their presence the most. And now they realize that maybe there's no going back. This person remembers the details. The tone of your voice when you spoke from the heart, the way you would fall silent when it hurt, the way you would stay even when everything pointed to the exit. But you didn't stay out of cowardice. You stayed for love. And that person didn't know how to recognize it, ignored the signs, minimized the pain, let it pass. Today what exists is a void that cannot be filled, because no one else carries what you carry. No other embrace holds the truth that yours did. No other presence has the weight of your absence. And maybe you have no idea how much this weighs now. Or maybe you've already realized. Perhaps you felt that disguised exchange of glances, that silent like on social media, that name that pops up but never calls. It's not a coincidence. It's contained desire. It's trapped wanting. It's silly pride trying to protect the little dignity that remains. Because that person believes you are already in another place. Not physically, but emotionally. They believe your healing came with the decision to never again accept what hurts. And maybe they're right, but still, even without knowing, they still want. They want to be near. They want to hear your voice. They want the chance to look at you again without having to pretend indifference. But they don't know how anymore. This person hesitates, deletes messages before sending, avoids places for fear of running into you, or on the contrary, goes to the same places hoping to catch a glimpse of you, even if from a distance. It's not pride that holds them back. It's guilt. It's fear. It's that suffocating feeling of someone who realized too late what they had in their hands. And what hurts the most is knowing that even if they come back, they might not find you in the same place anymore. You've changed, you respect yourself, you've stopped chasing after. You've understood that love is not blind persistence. And that realization is cruel for someone who only learned after losing. This person may never say it. They may spend their life carrying this silently. They may smile, build a new story, and move on. But you will be there, in a corner of memory where nothing else can enter, in a piece of your soul that remains unfinished. And if one day the reunion happens, even if in silence, you will feel it in the gaze, because that person still wants you. But they don't know if they can anymore. They don't know if they still have the right, if they are still worthy of being welcomed, if they would still fit in the new space you've created. Have you ever wanted to go back but felt that it wouldn't be enough anymore? If this resonates with you, comment here. I needed to hear this. What was the first time you experienced something similar? Have you ever been that person? The one who only realized after losing? The one who wanted but didn't have the courage? Write in the comments. You are not alone. You're not the only one. There are pains that only those who have felt them understand. There are silences that scream. There are regrets that don't fade away. And what comes after this, you'll need to feel with me. Have you ever stopped to think about this? What happens when that love comes back, but you no longer need it? When what once destroyed you now doesn't move you? When what used to mean everything now makes no sense? That's when reality hurts the most. Not because of a lack of feeling, but because even with feeling, you can no longer accept going back to the place where you lost yourself. That person may come back. They may get closer. They may say everything you've waited so long to hear. They might even cry, promise, beg, but you've changed. And no one understands how cruel that is for someone who once held you in their hands and wasted it. Now you're the one with the power. But it's not about revenge. It's about awareness. It's knowing that love isn't enough when the damage was too deep. That person can bring flowers. They can write long messages. They can say they've learned. But what you lived through alone, what you had to endure in silence, what you faced in the nights when no one reached out to you, that can't be erased. And no matter how much the heart still remembers, you now have emotional memory. You don't return to what silenced you. You no longer accept what once made you doubt your own worth. This person will feel it in your gaze. They'll notice that the door isn't locked, but it's not wide open anymore. You might even hear, you might even talk, but you won't surrender the same way again. Because something in you has changed. Something has closed off. Something has understood that when love comes too late, it needs much more than words. It needs presence, it needs time. It needs truth sustained in actions. And this person still doesn't know if they have the strength for that. They want you back, but they don't know how to stay, because they never learned how to remain. And you no longer have the energy to teach the basics. You've given everything. You've gone above and beyond. You've tried even when it hurt. Now it's you who measures. It's you who takes care of yourself. It's you who decides if it's worth reopening a wound that was finally starting to heal. This person will try, directly or indirectly. Maybe with a disguised message. Maybe with a sudden appearance in places where you are. Maybe with words that sound like apologies but are just fear. And you will know. You will feel, but you will also realize that you no longer feel the urge to run, that your heart no longer races the same way, that love still exists, but your willingness, that's in the past. Not because you are cold, but because you've had to be too strong. This person will notice it in your tone of voice, in your pauses, in the way you listen to them, without breaking apart inside. They will realize that they lost you even while trying to come back, because they missed the timing. They lost access. They lost the version of you that still wanted to fight. You no longer fight. You observe, you analyze, you feel, but you won't surrender again without a guarantee of genuine presence. And this lack of giving will hurt them, more than your absence hurt you, because they will understand too late that it wasn't you who stopped loving. It was they who left you alone, until you understood that love isn't about saving someone who refuses to stay. Have you ever lived something like this? Tell me in the comments. What was the exact moment you realized that love was over, even though you still felt something, or worse, the moment you understood that no matter how much you still love, you can't go back anymore? Write it down here, fearlessly, unfiltered, without trying to sound okay. There are stories that only those who lived them truly understand. Some wounds only heal when they are spoken. Some endings only truly begin when we have the courage to share. And if you've made it this far, it's because this story has something to do with you too. Or maybe everything. You've been in that place, the place where love could come back, but you no longer recognize yourself as someone capable of loving like before. It's not bitterness, it's not indifference, it's emotional exhaustion. You remember every detail of the process that made you harden, every day waiting for something that never came, every gesture ignored, every word you held back for fear of being misunderstood, every time you erased yourself to hold on to something that only you sustained. That person wasn't there. They didn't see you shatter while trying to look okay. They didn't hear the conversations you had with yourself at night when everything hurt too much to sleep peacefully. And now they show up, with promises, with eyes that avoid yours, with rehearsed lines as if it were possible to undo the past with an apology. But you're not the same anymore, and that hurts them. Because when they see you standing tall, unwavering, needing to prove nothing, they feel the absence of something they still want, but no longer know how to reach. They will say they've changed. They will try to prove they learned. They will mention things you used to say that they never really listened to. They will attempt to resurrect images of what you both were, as if that would still be enough. But now you understand. Love isn't about memories. It's about presence. It's about continuity. That person didn't stay, and that created a void. An emptiness you needed to fill with strength, with discernment, with maturity. You became emotionally adult when they walked out the door. And now she wants to enter a space where everything has been renovated without her. And it's not that you don't feel anymore. You feel, but you feel through a filter, with limits, with criteria you didn't have before you gave yourself completely, without asking if the other was ready to receive. Now you ask, who will support me when I stumble? Who will see me in my shadows and still want to stay? And that person might not have the answer, because they never needed to have it before. They're just now realizing what you've always known. Love without presence is an illusion. Affection without responsibility is ego. Coming back without rebuilding is not healing, and it's repetition. You don't want to repeat. You can't. Your soul can no longer bear cycles that always end the same way, with you holding everything alone. And as much as part of you still remembers, still pulses, still wants, there's another part, quieter, more mature, more aware, that looks at everything and says, it's not worth the risk. That person will notice this in your eyes, in the way you listen without getting emotional, in the way you smile with distance, in the way you respond with pause. They will see that they've lost the intensity of your heart, and that will hurt more than any rejection. Because what hurts isn't the closed door. It's knowing that it was once open and was ignored. You don't need to shout, you don't need to justify, you don't need to protect yourself. Your evolution is already a sufficient shield. Your calm has become an answer. Your silence has turned into resistance. That person might say they didn't expect to find you so different, They might say they miss you. They might say they regret it. But you know, regret doesn't fix anything. It only shows that awareness has arrived, but too late. Have you ever wanted to go back, but felt you wouldn't be enough anymore? Or worse, has someone ever wanted to come back to you, and you realized that what destroyed you before now simply doesn't affect you anymore? If this resonates with you, comment, "I needed to hear this," or write, "It's too late now." And if it hurt, share it with someone who needs to realize this too. Just because someone feels this doesn't mean they still have a place. Love needs to be planted, watered, cared for. If it was abandoned, it turned into something else. You turned into something else. And the question that remains is, does this person want you, but do you still want to be theirs? Maybe yes, maybe no, but now the decision is yours. If this touched you, give it a like. Comment on what hurt you the most to hear. Share it with someone who needs to hear this right now. And subscribe so you don't miss what's coming in the next video.